Okay, good morning, students. So, in the last class, we just went through about anomalous expansion of water, right? So, we shall have a recap of yesterday's class, okay? See, the anomalous expansion that is called the unusual behavior of water, right? So, as you know that when you increase the temperature, okay, of an object, okay, when you heat some object, if its temperature, the temperature of the object, if it increases, so what happens? The volume increases, right? Similarly, when you cool the object, when you decrease the temperature of an object, so what happens? The volume decreases. Okay. Generally, on heating, the object's volume increases. On cooling, the object's volume decreases. This is the usual thing which we come across, right? But in the case of water, what happens? When you heat the water from 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, so what happens? Instead of increasing in the volume of an water, what happens? There will be a decrease in volume, that is from 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. Once you increase the temperature beyond 4 degrees Celsius, what happens? The volume increases. Okay, so this is the unusual behavior. So hence we say that at the 4 degrees Celsius, the volume has a, sorry, the water has a minimum volume. Okay, so similarly, when you take a density, okay, when you plot a graph, density versus temperature, as you can see, when you raise the temperature of an water from 0 degree to 4 degrees Celsius, what happens? The density increases. Okay, so once it goes beyond the 4 degrees Celsius, what happens? Again, the value, the density decreases. Okay, hence we conclude that at 4 degrees Celsius, the water has maximum density, and at 4 degrees Celsius, the water has minimum volume. Okay, so this behavior helps in the survival of aquatic life in the severe winter. Okay, so as we have just gone through about that, so what happens when the during the winter, as you know that the temperature keeps on decreasing. Okay, so the water which is at the top surface, okay, so what happens? The temperature of that water which is at the top keeps on decreasing. Okay, so as it keeps on decreasing, what happens? The density of that water keeps on decreasing. Okay, so that what happens? Once the density decreases, it becomes less denser. Okay, so hence the less denser water sinks into the bottom. Okay, so the water which has the temperature around 4 degrees Celsius, okay, so what happens? It becomes more denser. I mean, it will be having a more density and it comes to the top surface. Okay, so hence it is concluded that only the top surface of the water gets freezes, whereas below that top surface, okay, only the top surface gets freezes, but below that the water doesn't get freezes. Okay, so this explains, even though during the severe winter the aquatic life survives. Okay, not all the water in a pond or the lake get completely freezes. Okay, only the top surface gets freezes. So this is regarding the aquatic life. Okay, so next, coming to the specific heat capacity, as you can see there, what do you mean by the specific heat capacity? So when you supply the heat to an object, okay, or a substance, if you consider m as the substance of an object, so whatever this heat you are going to supply, that is q, will be directly proportional to m. Okay, so next, q will be directly proportional to delta t. The amount of heat which you are supplied is directly proportional to the rise in temperature of the substance. So combining that two, you are going to get q is proportional to m delta t. So since it is a proportionality, we will add a constant, that is q is equal to Cm delta t, where C is called as the constant of proportionality. Alright. So C can be written as C is equal to Q divided by M delta T. Okay. So next, therefore, we define this specific heat capacity as, okay, if M is equal to 1 kg and delta T is equal to 1 Kelvin, the specific heat of a substance is defined as the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kg of substance by 1 Kelvin. Okay. And the SI unit of this specific heat capacity is joule per kg per Kelvin, right? And we also just went through about the specific heat capacity of gases, right? So as we know that the expansion is more in the case of gas compared to the liquid and solids, right? So in the gas, we have two types of specific heat capacities. One is specific heat capacity at constant volume and specific heat capacity of a gas at constant pressure. So coming to the first, at constant volume specific heat, the quantity of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kg of gas by 1 Kelvin, keeping the volume constant. Okay, the same thing, but only the thing is what we are going to add is keeping the volume constant. That's all. Okay, 1 kg of gas by 1 Kelvin, increasing the temperature of the gas, 1 kg of gas by 1 Kelvin, and at constant volume. Okay, so the next is specific heat capacity of a gas at constant pressure. Okay, the same thing, amount of heat required to raise 1 kg of gas by 1 Kelvin at constant pressure. Okay, so this is regarding specific heat of a gas at constant volume and at constant pressure. Okay, I think till here we discussed in the last class. Hope you have understood. In case if you have any doubts regarding the yesterday's class, you can get it clarified. Okay, any doubts? Any doubts, students, in the yesterday's class? Okay, fine. So we will move to the next topic, that is molar specific heat capacity of gas. Okay, that is molar specific heat capacity of a gas. So in the previous case here, we have discussed the specific heat taking a gas in terms of kgs. Okay, now we are going to consider in terms of moles. We are going to define the specific heat of a gas in terms of moles. Okay, I have made it clear what do you mean by these moles in the last class, right? Okay, fine. See you. Molar specific heat capacities of a gas, which is represented by capital C. See, I'll just read out that if a substance contains mu moles and requires heat Q to rise its temperature by delta T, then the molar specific heat is given by capital C is equal to capital Q divided by mu delta T. Okay, so if a substance contains mu moles, okay, consider a gas which contains of mu moles and it requires Q amount of heat to raise its temperature by delta T. So the molar specific heat is written as C is equal to Q by mu delta T. Okay, so as we know that the mu is nothing but what? Mole, right? So mole is nothing but equal to mass divided by molecular weight. Okay, so I think this thing you have come across in your chemistry. Okay, so mu, that is mole, is equal to mass of the material divided by molecular weight. Okay, so hence putting that mu value in this equation, that is C is equal to Q by mu delta T. So what happens, you can see here, C is equal to Q divided by small m divided by capital M into delta T. So that will be nothing but equal to C is equal to capital M into Q by M delta T. Okay. So as you know that this Q divided by M delta T is nothing but what? It is the specific heat, right? Small c, that is specific heat. So we will replace that Q divided by M delta T by small c. So hence you can write capital C is equal to capital M into small c. Okay. Capital C is equal to capital C is equal to capital M into small c. Okay. That means that the conclusion of that equation is nothing but molar specific heat is equal to molecular weight into specific heat capacity. Okay. Molar specific heat is equal to molecular weight into heat capacity, specific heat capacity. Okay. And the SI unit of this molar specific heat is nothing but it is joule per mole per Kelvin. Okay. And again in the same case, we have two cases, that is one is molar specific heat capacity at constant volume and molar specific heat capacity at constant pressure. Okay. Let us see this molar specific heat capacity at constant volume. Okay. So here we will define that one as the quantity of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of a gas by 1 Kelvin keeping volume constant is called molar specific heat of gas at constant volume. Okay. The change is instead of 1 kg of gas you are expressing that one as 1 mole of gas. Okay. Rest of the thing is same. In addition to that you are adding constant volume there. Okay. Similarly, coming to this specific heat capacity of gas at constant pressure, amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of gas by 1 Kelvin keeping the pressure constant. Okay. That is called as specific heat of a gas at constant pressure. Okay. So this is regarding molar specific heat capacity at constant volume and at constant pressure. Okay. So just go through about this molar specific heat capacity and this molar specific heat capacity at constant volume and constant pressure. In case if you have any doubts, please let me know. Just go through a while. So in case if you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay, Ullas, just go through about the definition there. Molar specific heat. If a substance contains mu moles and requires heat Q to raise its temperature by delta T is called as molar specific heat. Okay. Suppose if a gas, what you take, it contains mu moles and it requires Q amount of heat to raise its temperature by delta T itself is called as molar specific heat. Okay. Okay, fine. Shall we move to the next? Okay, see you. The next is why Cp is greater than Cv. Okay, so coming to this molar specific heat. Okay, molar specific heat, in some of the papers they have asked this definition for 2 marks. Okay, and similarly the SI unit is also important, and even this molar specific heat capacity at constant volume and constant pressure, any one will be asked for 2 marks. Okay, so next coming to this, why Cp is greater than Cv. Okay, we say that the Cp, that is the constant at constant pressure. Cp is nothing but what? It is at constant pressure, and Cv is nothing but at constant volume, right? So it is said that Cp is greater than Cv. Okay, so let us see why is this we say that Cp is greater than Cv. So in the figure you can see there you have a cylinder. Okay, you have a cylinder which consists of an ideal gas, and this is a piston, movable frictionless piston. Okay, so now just I'll read out that explanation part, then I'll explain you. Okay, consider certain amount of ideal gas taken in a cylinder fitted with a frictionless piston. Case 1, when the gas is heated at constant volume, the entire heat energy is utilized by the gas to increase its internal energy and pressure increases. Okay, see here, in the first case, what happens, we are dealing with the constant volume. Okay, suppose assume that we are dealing with constant volume, and you have a ideal gas in the cylinder which is fitted with a frictionless piston. Okay, so now assume that you are supplying the heat to the gas. So what happens, since the volume is constant, the gas cannot expand, right? Correct, since we are dealing about the constant volume, so volume cannot be changed, so volume is fixed. So since the volume is fixed, what happens, as you keep on increasing the gas, that results in the internal energy of the gas. Okay, what do you mean by this internal energy? Internal energy is nothing but it is the sum of the potential energy and kinetic energy of a gas. Okay, so that is called as internal energy. So as you increase the as you increase the as you supply the heat, so what happens, it results in the increase in the internal energy of the gas, and the pressure increases. Okay, so this is regarding at constant volume. This is what happens when you supply the heat to a gas at constant volume. Okay, so we will come to the next case, that is 2. Case 2, when the gas is heated at constant pressure, a part of heat energy is utilized by the gas to increase its internal energy, that is temperature, and the remaining part is utilized by the gas to perform external work against the piston. That means we need to supply more amount of heat for a gas which is maintained at constant pressure than at constant volume. Hence Cp is greater than Cv. Okay, so let us take a case where we are dealing with constant pressure. Okay, so that the pressure doesn't increases. Okay, so what happens when you keep on supplying the heat? Okay, so which results in the internal energy of gas, right? So the temperature of the gas increases. Okay, when the temperature of the gas increases, what happens, the volume expands. Okay, so when the gas expands, what happens, uh, it moves the piston in the upward direction, right? The piston moves to start in the upward direction, in this direction. Okay, so hence we conclude that whenever we are dealing with the concept that is at constant pressure, whatever the heat you are going to supply to the gas results in some part of the heat. Okay, some part of the what your heat you are supplying results in internal energy of the gas. Okay, increase in internal energy of the gas, and some part of the heat results in the doing the work done against the atmosphere. Okay, against the system we say. Okay, that means that when the piston moves in the upward direction, we say that work is done by the gas. Okay, work is done by the gas, or work is done against the system we call. Okay, so this is why we say that Cp is greater than Cv. Okay, when it is at constant volume, what happens, whatever the heat you are going to supply results in the increase in temperature, that's all. Okay, pressure increases there. But in the case of constant pressure, what happens? Whatever the heat you are going to supply, some part of the heat, some part results in the increase in temperature of the gas, and some part results in moving that piston in the upward direction. So hence we call more energy, more amount of heat to be supplied to the gas which is maintained at constant pressure. Okay, more amount of heat to be supplied to the gas at constant pressure compared to constant volume. So hence we conclude that Cp is greater than Cv. Okay. Okay, fine. Is this fine, students? Why Cp is greater than Cv? Just go through about this. Ullas, don't worry about the notes. Okay. Anyway, before conclusion of the class, I'm going to inform what are the things to be written. Okay. Yes, any doubts regarding this Cp is greater than Cv? In case any doubts, you can ask. Okay, fine. We shall move to the next topic, that is calorimetry. Okay. I think if you are from ICSC, I think you have just gone through about this calorimeter in the 10th standard itself, right? Okay, the same thing. See you. Let us see what do you mean by this calorimetry. Okay, calorimetry is a branch of science which deals with the measurement of heat. The instrument used to measure the heat is called calorimeter. Calorimeter is a hollow cylindrical vessel made up of copper with a lid and a stirrer placed in it. The calorimeter is placed inside an insulated enclosure to avoid loss of heat by radiation. Okay, so see here, the calorimeter is nothing but calorimetry is a branch of science which deals about the measurement of heat. Okay, so next, the instrument which is used to measure the heat is called as calorimeter, we call. Okay, next, let us see how this calorimeter looks. Okay, the calorimeter is a hollow cylindrical vessel. Okay, it is a hollow cylindrical vessel which is made up of copper. Okay, and you have a lid to it with a stirrer. Okay, lid is nothing but which is closing. Okay, top surface it is closed by a lid, and you have a stirrer in it. Okay, and the calorimeter is placed inside an insulated enclosure to avoid loss of radiation by heat. Okay, so what happens? Usually the calorimeter is nothing but it is in you have a wooden box. Okay, a wooden box. So inside that you are placing this calorimeter. Okay, which is made up of copper, and you are going to close the lid which is made up of wooden. Okay, so between this gap which is between the wooden box and the this calorimeter, you are going to place some material which is a bad conductor of heat. Okay, so that it prevents the loss of heat. Okay, so this itself is called as the calorimeter, how it looks. Okay, so next, regarding the principle of calorimetry or heat balance. Okay, so we call that one as principle of calorimetry or heat balance. So what is the principle of calorimetry says? See here, the statement of this goes like this: heat lost by a hot body is equal to heat gained by a cold body. Okay, heat lost by a body is nothing but equal to heat gained by the body. This is the principle of calorimeter. Okay, so let us go through the explanation of that. Consider a hot body A of mass m1, temperature T1 and specific heat capacity C1. Let this body be placed in contact with a cold body B of mass m2, temperature T2 and specific heat capacity C2. When these two bodies are placed in contact, then the temperature of the mixture becomes T. Okay, so what happens? First of all, we have taken a hot body. Okay, that a hot body is denoted by A, and the mass of that hot body is m1, T1 and C1. Temperature is T1, heat specific heat capacity is C1 of the body A. Okay, which is having the higher temperature. Next, we will take a second body, which is cold body, so which has the mass m2, temperature T2 and specific heat capacity C2. Next what you are going to do is you are going to bring these two bodies and you are making a contact between the hot and cold body. So what happens? The temperature of both the body reaches the same, right? So the temperature, the final temperature of the two bodies becomes T. Okay, so that means that we say that heat lost by the hot body is nothing but it is written as m1 c1 t1 minus t. Okay, so A is equal to A is nothing but what? It is a hot body, right? So as we know that when you make a two bodies, which is one which is having higher temperature and one which is having the lower temperature, when you make a contact between those two, so what happens? The heat always flows from higher body temperature to a lower body temperature. So there is a transfer of heat. So till where the transfer of heat takes place, until the temperature of both the bodies remains the same. Okay, becomes same. So once the temperature is same, there is no transfer of heat. Okay, so hence we say that the heat lost by body A, which had very high temperature, can be written as m1 c1 into t1 minus t1. Next, heat gained by the cold body is written as m2 c2 into T minus T2. Okay, M2 C2 into T minus T2. So hence, according to the principle of calorimetry, heat lost by a body A is equal to heat lost by the body B. So hence, we are going to write mathematically it one as M1 C1 into T1 minus T is equal to M2 C2 into T minus T2. Okay, so where M1 C1 is nothing but specific heat and mass of the hot body and cold body. T1 is the temperature of hot body, T2 is the temperature of cold body, and T is the temperature, final temperature, when both the bodies are brought into contact. Okay, so this is regarding the principle of calorimeter. Okay, just go through about the principle of calorimeter and principle of calorimeter for a while. Any doubts you can ask. Okay, just go through everyone. Okay, any doubts, students? Do you have any doubts? Any doubts, please do ask. Don't hesitate. Okay, fine. See you. The next is nothing but it is regarding determination of specific heat of solid by the method of mixture. Okay, which is a extra information. Okay, no need of going through that. Just leave that. We will move to the change of state. Okay, so see here, this change of state is important. Next, after this change of state, we will start with the latent heat. Okay, so it is very important topic. So coming to this change of state. Okay, as you have come across this in your lower classes itself. See, the process of converting one state of a substance into another state of the substance is known as change of state. Correct, right? So converting one state of a substance into another state of a substance is called as change of state. For example, when ice is heated, it melts at 0 degrees Celsius and converts into water. On the other hand, if water is cooled, it freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and converts into ice. So as you know that when the ice is heated, okay, it melts at 0 degrees Celsius. The ice melts at 0 degrees Celsius and can get converts into water. Okay, water at 0 degrees Celsius, right? So it is nothing but the change of state. Similarly, when you cool the water, so what happens? The water gets freezes into 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so 0 degrees Celsius of water gets converted into 0 degrees Celsius of ice, right? So that is called as the change of state. Okay. So similarly, the process of changing the solid state into liquid state is called as melting. As you know that melting is nothing but what? Changing the state of solid into liquid is called as melting, right? So ice getting converted into water. Next, the process of changing the liquid state into solid state is known as freezing. That is from water to ice is called as the change of state from water to ice is called as we call that one as freezing or fusion we call. Okay. So next, melting point is nothing but the temperature at which a solid state of a substance changes into a liquid state of a substance is known as melting point of the substance. Okay. So next, it is regarding when water is heated, it boils at 100 degrees Celsius and converts into steam. On the other hand, if steam is cooled, it condenses at 100 degrees Celsius and converts into water. So it is nothing but change of state from water to vapor state and again from vapor to water state. Okay, vapor or steam, one and the same. Okay, so that is nothing but as you know that when the water is heated, it boils at 100 degrees Celsius and it can get converted into steam, right? On the other hand, if the steam is cooled, what happens? It gets converted into water. Okay, so the process of changing the liquid state into gaseous state is known as vaporization. Okay, so next, the process of changing the gaseous state into liquid state is known as condensation. Okay, so hence we define the boiling point as the temperature at which the liquid state of a substance changes into gaseous state is known as the boiling point of the substance. Okay, so this is regarding the change of states. Okay, so what do you mean by this melting? What do you mean by this freezing? What is vaporization? What is condensation? What is melting point? What is boiling point? So these are the things which we have come across now in the case of change of states, right? Okay, so here we will conclude at this topic. Okay, so just a minute, I'll say which are the topics should be written in the assignment book. Before that, let me take the attendance. Okay, Okay, see here, coming to the assignment part, just you can practice this molar specific heat. Okay, molar specific heat and molar specific heat of gas at constant volume and pressure. Fine. So next is nothing but this one, which is that principle of calorimeter. Okay, principle of calorimeter, just go through about that. Okay, so just go through about the definition of that calorimeter. Okay, don't worry about this things. Okay, just go through that. Why the calorimeter is used? It is used to measure the heat of the gas. Okay, sorry, to measure the heat. Okay, the calorimeter is used to measure the gas. That's all. Okay, no need of this going through what does this calorimeter consists of. And the calorimeter is a branch of science which deals with the measure of heat. So that thing and all don't write. Okay, so just go through that. The instrument calorimeter is used to measure the heat. That's all. That is fine. Next, just make a practice of this principle of calorimeter. Okay, so what are the things to be written is only this thing. Okay, the statement of the principle of calorimeter. Okay, next, this heat lost by the body, heat gained by the body, and the last equation according to principle of calorimetry. Heat lost is equal to heat gain, the equation. Okay, that is enough. No need of explaining. Okay, so when you write this equation, write there itself what is m1. M1 is nothing but mass of the body of A. Okay, mass of hot body. Next, what is that? C1. C1 is nothing but specific heat of hot body. Just explain the terms next to that equation itself. That is enough. Okay, so just make a practice. I mean, just write down the things what I have said in the assignment book. Okay, with this thing we will conclude today's class. Okay, so we will continue in the next class. Okay, about that latent heat. So with this thing I am concluding the class. Okay, fine.